What's up, people? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is a story time. I'll be explaining to you guys how I applied for work visa in the US multiple times. And when I say multiple times, 4 or 5 times I applied and none was successful. So your girl didn't get that work visa. So I'll be explaining some of my struggles, sort of like what I had to go through because of this like work visa situation, and also use this to explain how work visas work for most international students that come to the US to study, so you can prepare your mind. So there's a lot of gist in today's video, so let's get right into it. Okay, so let's dive right in. So the visa I applied for, or the work visa that I'm talking about in this video, is called the H1B visa. So this is the most common work visa type in the US, and this is how most international students, actually most international students, get to like stay in the US and work. So what exactly is this H1B visa? How does it work? So I just want to make sure you guys understand the situation. So for context, H1B is work visa. So when you come to the US to study, you are on an F1 visa, student visa, what they call F1 visa in the US. So you get, let's use this example of you going for a master's for 2 years, like I did an MBA. So I did that for 2 years. So you're on an F1 visa, and it usually expires after you complete your program. So in this example, after you complete your master's program, let's say you're going for a master's in analytics. After you complete your master's in analytics program, your F1 visa, that's the student visa, expires usually around when that program is expected to end. Now, right before your F1 visa expires, you can apply for what we call the OPT visa. It's not really a visa, but let's call it a visa. Okay, you can apply for OPT right before you graduate, and that visa is school sponsored. Just like the F1 visa, the OPT is school sponsored. It's an opportunity the US is giving you to sort of like work in a related field. Basically, if you did analytics, it's an opportunity they're giving you to kind of practice some of the things you learned in class. So right before you graduate, you can apply for an OPT visa. It usually lasts for 12 months, so that's 1 year. But if you do a STEM program, you could extend it for up to 3 years. So you have 2 years of work, 2 years of studying on the F1 visa, and then you can get an OPT for either 1 year or for 36 months or for 3 years, basically. I did an entire video explaining visa types and how they work in the US. I'll link that video in the description box. I'll also link it up here. So you guys can, like, I went into the details in that video. But bottom line, what you guys need to know is that after your F1 visa, you get on the OPT visa. If you did a STEM program, that OPT could be for 3 years, so you can work in the US for 3 years. Now, let's say you are that person that didn't do a STEM program, so you have just 1 year after your F1, basically. So within that 1 year, you need to figure yourself out. You need to figure out how you can get a real work visa so you can continue working in the US. Now, the way the work visa works, whatever. The way that visa works, so the work visa I'm talking about now is the H1B. So we've talked about F1, we've talked about OPT, we've talked about OPT extension if you do STEM, right? Now, the H1B is the real work visa. And the way it works is a company would sponsor you. Again, I explained all this in that video, but a company would sponsor you. So you need to get a job offer or some employment with a company that can sponsor you. Not all companies sponsor like international students, but some companies do. Now, let's say you got that offer, that company would sponsor you, and that way you get the H1B visa, which you can renew every year. So that's how it works. From F1, you move to OPT. From OPT, you move to H1B. That is the typical process for most international students. It is this, H1B visa that I was trying to get. So I'll explain now to you how people get that H1B visa and why I couldn't get it. So let's say things are working great and you get that great job offer from a company that sponsors, right? So that's beautiful. Now, the way the H1B works, so now you've gotten an offer, and this nice company, they are willing to sponsor you. Well, not nice, but anyway, this company is willing to sponsor you. The way the H1B visa works is it's a lottery system. So basically, everyone applying to the H1B visa, now you can't apply for an H1B visa yourself. You have to go through a company. So it's only companies that can apply for H1B visa, right? So it's a lottery system. So every company, basically, let's say this company is Google and they have 5,000 people that they're applying for H1B visas for. They will send all those 5,000 applications. Of course, this is really simplistic, but they will send all those 5,000 applications to the US government, basically the agency in charge of like visas. So they'll send all those 5,000. Facebook will send their 10,000. Bain will send their 2,000. McKinsey, any company that sponsors will send, all those applications of all their employees that are trying to get H1B visas. They will send all of those to the government, and the government now runs a lottery. So basically, they run a lottery and pick people at random. So let's say across the US in 2022, 100,000 applications were submitted across all these companies. 100,000 H1B applications were submitted. And let's say the US has slots for only 4,000 people. Now, when those 100,000 applications are submitted, the US will run a lottery, some lottery system, and the system shortlists just 4,000 people randomly. It's actually very random. It has nothing to do with anything. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with what the quality of your application. This is just random. They run a random lottery and shortlist those 4,000 people. It is after you're shortlisted as one of those 4,000 people that the company really truly applies, if you get what I mean. Anyway, you don't have to worry about it, but know that it is after you're shortlisted, it is after your name is picked in that lottery system that the company can truly file for you. What they did at that first stage is only like dropping your name, if you get what I'm saying. So now, after you're shortlisted, they will send in all your documentation, fill forms and all of that, and that's when they can truly apply for you. Now, that's where I had issues. So I basically explained the different visas we typically have, from F1 to OPT to H1B. I've also talked about like how H1B shortlisting and lottery works, right? So, but if you don't understand all those visa terminology, whatever, I have a video I did a couple of, let's say last year, I think. I have a video I did last year talking about all these visa types and how it impacts international students and things like that. I'll link that video in the description box. I'll put it up here. So don't worry, you're not missing anything if I'm going too fast. I just don't want this video to be too long. So I'll link that video and you can check it out. So let's get into how I had issues, because I had issues. Now, before I graduated, so I graduated from the MBA program in 2020. So right before I graduated, typically it's after you graduate that companies file for you for this H1B visa, right? Because technically you're still on OPT after you graduate. So they usually would apply right before your OPT expires. So right before I graduated, my company filed for H1B for me. So that was the first time. So they filed, and typically, one thing I forgot to mention is the US runs this lottery, I think, typically only twice a year. So maybe every 6 months, I don't remember, but twice a year they will run this lottery and, shortlist people, right? So right before I graduated, the company filed for me. And when they filed for me, I wasn't shortlisted. That was sad because, like, you know how it is as an immigrant here, and you need your visa to basically be legal here. So I wasn't illegal, of course, because I had the OPT at that time. So the company filed for me. I didn't get it in 2020. In 2021, I'm not sure if they filed a second time. I can't remember. They always tell me when they file, but I'm not sure. I just can't remember all these things, but I'll confirm. But anyway, in 2021, they filed again. Let's say this was the second time or third time. They filed again in 2021 early. I think it's March. They filed in 2021. Your girl wasn't shortlisted. Yes, I wasn't shortlisted. So that went. Then sometime, I think it was in July 2021, they filed again. That's the second round, because I told you guys, I told you, like, the US government does this lottery thing twice a year, right? So they filed a third time. Maybe these are number 3 or number 4. I didn't get it. That's around July 2021. And then for some strange reason, I think the government noticed they didn't get the up to the or the number of people. So after you submit an application, after they run the lottery, let's say you're shortlisted, you submit an application, then they will review all your documents, and sometimes a lot of people get rejected, but some people, their visas get granted, basically. So I don't know what happened. End of 2021, the government decided to run a third lottery in that year. Third, typically it's two, but now they ran a third one, and this time the company filed again. So this is the third time in 2021. And they already filed one in 2020. So in 2021, around November, was it November or October? Around October or November, they filed for my H1B again. Guess what? Finally, I still did not get it. I wasn't shortlisted. It was terrible for me, because you already know what that means. It means my OPT is sort of like, almost expired at this point, and I'm not getting H1B. That means I'll need to leave the US, because I was just not going to be illegal here. At least that was my plan. I wouldn't want that. So like, it was a really difficult time for me, because like, just not getting it multiple times, I'm like, I had my friends and classmates that got it the first try before we even like left school. They already got shortlisted, the company applied for them, and I got a pretty good job. I just didn't know what was going on. I just didn't know. Even people that the same company applied for, like my colleagues, they'll get it, they'll get shortlisted, but I just was so unlucky. Like, they kept trying. Like, in 1 year they applied 3 times, and these things aren't free, right? They apply 3 times. They hire lawyers, do all these things just to submit an application for you, but it didn't work out. So that was 4 times. I remember 4 times, at least 4 times. I think they applied 5 times in total between 2020 and 2021. But yeah, I still didn't get it. It was just really difficult, and whew, I felt really unlucky. I knew that I would have to leave if I just didn't work things out. Till now, I still like never got H1B visa. Of course, I have another valid visa I'm using now, but like, it was just difficult. It was really, really difficult. And I don't know if I've shared this on this channel, but it is hard enough to find a company that sponsors and that's willing to sponsor you. That is work on its own. And after going through all of that work to get a good job, because it's mostly high paying jobs, and high is relative, right? It's mostly pretty good jobs that sponsor, because sponsoring international students is expensive. That's the truth. They have to hire lawyers. Of course, it's not an amount that will kill a good company. It's nothing to them. It's usually a rounding error, but the truth is it's still expensive. So it's usually companies that pay. Also, companies are not allowed to file for you if you don't earn at least up to a particular level. It's complex, but ignore that. The point is, after going through the work and the effort to get a job at a company that sponsors, now I'm going through all these processes, hoping and hoping every single time. For 4 or 5 times I was rejected. Until now, like, still don't have like the H1B visa. So what does all this mean? So I just wanted to quickly share that experience, just so you guys know how, like, some of the little struggles, I won't call it little because, like, it was a real struggle at the time. At least now I can smile about it. But, like, then when I was going through it, I'm facing all this, like, I won't call it rejection, just not being lucky enough to get shortlisted. Like, I just wasn't lucky. But anyway, I don't want this video to be a rant video. Maybe it is, but I don't want it to be too long. And the point is, these things happen as an immigrant, as an international student here. So just kind of like prepare your mind for some of these struggles. There's the struggle of applying to well, let's not say thousand, hundreds of jobs and just getting a few offers because not all companies that you love sponsor. There's that issue. There's also the issue of now they want to sponsor you, but you just aren't getting the visa and feeling unlucky. But hey, things always happen for a reason. I don't know. I don't believe that all the time. I don't think everything happens for a reason. Sometimes there's just no reason, and life happens. But yeah, that's kind of my experience. Just so you guys know, so you are aware of some of these challenges. But hey, we always overcome, right? And we'll figure out a way. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, so you guys know some of these things. You prepare your mind, if possible. Get into a STEM program so you can extend your OPT for 3 years. So at least the company can try for 3 years. Because if you just have 1 year of OPT, once the company tries, just the way, say, they tried for me in 2020, they tried in 2021, if I don't have that STEM, I'll need to leave the US immediately. So as much as possible, as you're thinking about applying to programs in the US, make sure, if you can, apply to a STEM program. And I went into detail on STEM and all of that in that video that I've been mentioning, so I'll put it in the description box. But hey, if you guys want to learn more about visa stories, horror stories, nice stories, but really learn more about visas in the US and how it works, or even if you want to learn about how things work in Canada, which is a lot easier, Canada is friendlier to international students, you should let me know in the comments right now, and I'll get some of my friends and we'll do a whole conversation about visas, work visas, post-school struggles. So yeah, let me know in the comment section. I hope you guys like this video, and yeah, subscribe if you do and give it a thumbs up. I'll see you in my next video.